Serenity Blueprint for Revolution was published September 2020 as episode 2 of the Drunlic podcast. This is a November 2024 remix with a video component and sound editing. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. You can't stop the signal.
Do you know what the definition of a hero is? Someone who gets other people killed.
Get back in the ball with the others!
Stay here, please!
Too many! Pull ahead!
Please!
My name is Andree. Come in to my home in Belfast, Northern Ireland, inside your earlobe, as we look in the Drunlic podcast at 2005's Serenity. You can't stop the signal. This is a film that opens fast. The verse is built in 1 minute. The Alliance is a utopian portrait. The outer worlds are a desert. The schoolrooms a friendly golden dream. And in the laboratory, staff explaining the positive differences after River's shock in an off-kilter view where all the other noise and violence comes from Simon's incursion. And it only eases up when we meet Chiwetel Ejiofor's operative, who is calm and polite. In fact, the operative right away recognises the nature of love and the error of pride. His pauses come and are terrifying. He speaks with authority, with certainty, and a belief that his aim is true. And then, slicey dicey slash flash fest.
Young miss. Young miss, I'll need all the logs on behavioral modification triggers. We'll have to reach out to Rivertown and help her to come back to us, no matter how far out Simon is. This is a good death. There's no shame in this. In a man's death, a man who has done fine works.
The operative is one of Whedon's strongest villains for depth. Compare, if you will, with Jubal Early, a similarly direct hunter whose mannerisms are eccentric, comical and bloody triggering. Early tuxies just below the surface. The operative is an open book.
They'll come at you sideways. It's how they think. It's how they move. Sidle up and smile. Hit you where you're weak. The sort of man they're like to send believes hard. Kills and never asks why.
He's the sort of guy that you can imagine unaware of how he works, having him around for family dinner. Oh yes, this roast is exceptional. Have you seasoned it with coriander? And the mashed potatoes. Spring onions, I presume? Now. I explained about cheesecake. Did I not say cheesecake would result in your death? Sit forward, please, and put your head back. Now there's a good host. Serenity traces the journey of the operative and the other characters in relation to faith and belief. Are we flexible in these like Wash and Malar? Are we ruled by them with little scaffolding should they go? Or are we like Shepherd Book, offering service by them but not beaten down in servitude to them? And then come the credits and the introduction of 4.5 minutes. The crew of 7, 8 counting Serenity herself. Wash is full of wonder, Mal is all business, Jane is on guard, Zoe is working coolly, Kaylee is all hands, Simon is angry.
This is anger.
And righteous. And his sister River is a weird seer, useful and protected.
Do you understand what I have gone through to keep River away from the Alliance?
I do. It's a fact we here have been courteous enough to keep to our own selves.
Are you threatening to...
I look out for me and mine. That don't include you, lest I conjure it does. Now, you stuck a thorn in the Alliance's paw. That tickles me a bit. But it also means I gotta step twice as fast to avoid them, and that means turning down plenty of jobs. Even honest ones. Put this crew together with the promise of work, which the Alliance makes harder every year. Come a day, there won't be room for naughty men like us to slip about at all. This job goes south, there well may not be another. So here's us, on the raggedy edge.
4.5 minutes and 13 episodes of Firefly summed up. The colours in this film are absolutely beautiful. We go to the banking planet, it's all shiny, it's golden. To the vault, we've got a reprise of the blue colours, and then the interior itself is a sort of a medium autumn kind of thing, and then the slicey dicey of the reavers. And there's no doubt the reavers are a threat. We've gotten 10 minutes packed with dialogue, and that's well submerged in an avalanche of fast moving action. Every heart beats fast. Guns fire, country races past, smoke bellows. It's really well choreographed. The drama sets up the reavers and brings the crew's desperate internal conflicts past tipping point.
These reavers, last 10 years, they show up like the bogeyman from stories. Eating people alive? Where does that get from?
Shepherd Book said they was men who just reached the edge of space, saw a vasty nothingness, and went bibbledy over it.
Oh, hell. I've been to the edge. Just looked like more space.
As with any time Joss Whedon is on game as a writer, the script for Serenity is economical. Watching Kaylee give Simon advice and push towards like a synesthesia of sadness and laughter all at once. The introduction of Japanese Vegas shisha bar and Fanti and Mingo further hybridise the fringe peculiarity we've encountered. The reclusive Mr. Universe is another notation of this weirdness, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the most stellar example of all. And it comes up on a multicoloured fast palette which throws every colour we've associated with the story into disarray before ending on a note of blue. Blue for clarity, blue for cold clinicism, then speeding earthly brown and terminal red in the action sequence laying out the new twist. And a brief scene where the operative surveys the details, his computer picking out Mal with futurist speed even before Mal can ask.
Girl? Hold a weapon.
Firefly didn't spend quite a great deal of time responding to this other than the thematic hints in the existential Jubal Early story, and a bunch of people really wanted their hands on her. It was one of the series' three big questions which Serenity delivers, the other two being what was the background of Shepherd Book and where did the Reavers come from. For the answer to the question girl or weapon, we visit Mr. Universe, a wealthy hacker and keen media student. I think of him as like a sort of a Cory Doctorow kind of figure, living on a satellite moon. He's got some hacker skills. He immerses himself in the manipulation of it all, in all the signals. He's charming and intelligent character, and he's also got what the Alliance would call a sex bot. The brief foray to Universe's marriage to said bot peculiarly demonstrates the closeness with which we view their relationship. Book, Jane and Inara have all been bringing up the war, and this frames how Mal and Zoe might know Mr. Universe.
I've been seeing this code pop up all over the last few weeks. It's Alliance and it's high military. They have gone to enormous trouble to find your little friend. And found her they have. Do you all know what it is you're carrying?
The notion dawns slowly on the crew. They're not being hunted for scavenging or a bank job. They're in a war. Old soldiers Mal and Zoe are the first to realise the capture of Ambassadorial Inara, the threat of River exercising her own autonomy, and the operative's visit to kindly shepherd book. It's a slow rise to character change, each inciting incident pushing the reality upon a crew, non-combatants, half of them.
Most of these girls,
They're of good families with the highest academic
control was the first lesson, and the last. And these worlds are not like the central planets. There's barbarism dressed in the most civil weeds. Men of the highest rank who don't know the difference between a companion and a common whore. It's unsafe.
All the more reason the girls look to you. You've seen so much. You're a figure of great romance to them.
Great romance has nothing to do with being a companion, Shadra. You should know better.
I'm not the one who had a torrid affair with a pirate.
A who? With a what?
It's the talk of the house. The girls all trade stories in the dorms at night.
I didn't have a pirate.
In one of the stories, you make love in a burning temple. I think that's my favorite.
This is unbearable. Captain Reynolds is no pirate. He's a petty thief. And he never laid a finger on me. All he ever did was run me a shuttle and be very annoying.
Captain Mal Reynolds, by nature of the story, rises from the ensemble. A war hero on the losing side, just trying to leave the cause behind him and rebuild his life in the framework of making a living and doing it with good people around him. River Tam represents the uncomfortable reminder of the day everything was taken from him. She lives nightmares. She's at the edge of Mal Reynolds' empathy, but to deny her protection is his antithesis. That opens up internal scars of his own. More so, Mal's antithesis is the operative. Mal will take the easy route, Occam's razor. Mal bends and folds, he compromises, he's independent to the core.
Serenity Valley. Bloodiest battle of the entire war. The Independents held the valley for 7 weeks, 2 of them after their high command had surrendered. 68% casualty rate.
Of course, sir. I just didn't...
There. Yes. Our Mr. Reynolds was a sergeant. 57th Overlanders. Volunteer. Fought at Serenity to the very last. This man is an issue. This man hates us.
The operative wants the status quo. The operative is inflexible and relentless. He's a company man. He doesn't understand any other way.
This is the most important line
I'm going to show you a world without sin.
in the film to me, because honestly, the film is really about something. It's about the right to be wrong. It's about the idea that you cannot impose your way of thinking on people, even if your way of thinking is more enlightened and better than theirs. It's just simply not how human beings are. And you take that further and you say the idea of sin is in fact outmoded, is in fact more archaic than anything that Mal believes in. When he says, I'm a fan of all seven, and let's take a moment to appreciate how that gives slightly. He's saying that sin is just what people are. It's been codified. It's been given a name. But all of those things we take as faults are also the source of pleasure and decency, and we should perhaps rethink it.
So the second big question Firefly asked was, who is Shepherd Book really? I really want to see more Book in Serenity. We don't learn any more here than in the series. I'm tempted to believe that's as much economy as it is intent. It brings home to viewers and to characters that the war is already underway. The operatives' forces are coming, and they aren't going to stop. Some stories just end unsatisfactorily. Lives end mid-chapter. It's too late.
Dan, do you seriously think I'd explain my master stroke if there remained the slightest chance of you affecting its outcome? I did it 35 minutes ago.
In the turning point, Simon and Jane are the first to realise this. Two people who have butted heads and betrayed one another across 13 hours of screen time. After Mal, River and the operative, the next most important character, a pivot character, is Jane. Jane is a thug. He's a thicko. His disloyalty ranks alongside Dr. Smith from Lost in Space, Gaius Baltar in Galactica, Judas Iscariot. Hell, throw in Lando Calrissian in Empire and mix them all together. That's Jane. Jane is scurrilous, but he does have a code. He has his own view of manliness. He's not a soldier like Mal. He's a mercenary. Jane is amoral, but not immoral. He'll do some shit, but the family of Serenity has rubbed off on him. Jane's dodgy code has twisted virtues, which sometimes meets the same end points. For example, he's less into mercy than he is pity. He's a hired gun, requiring a certain amount of bravery. He wants to make a living, and if the crew of Serenity are headed for poverty, as they so often are, he'll speak up and negotiate with clients. Jane speaks up a lot. Broken clock is right twice a day. And he has Mal's back, though not always, because Mal pays him. Mal and Jane spend the film pivoting around one another, taking on aspects of each other's way of doing.
I realized if Jane's in, the most amoral character in the movie, then everybody is, and you don't need to say it. And that's, and the fact that he gives Simon a drink says the people who, would have the least to do with each other are all united here.
Yet it's only after their visit to Haven and hearing Mal's planned reaction that the others truly understand. Serenity's 10th character, the craft itself, is plunged into a point of no return. Unquestioning Zoe questions him. His friend Keely bristles in fear of him. River, the contained reader of people, studies him, almost in surprise.
Well, something sure the hell ain't right.
This ain't no little settlement.
We flew over at least a dozen cities just as big. Why didn't we ever hear about this?
The man responsible for Serenity's beautiful colour palette, cinematography director Jack Green.
For Miranda, we blew it out completely. We overexposed it. We pushed it in the digital timing, and that was to give the idea that Miranda represents the sort of insane optimism of the Alliance, that it's too bright, it's too perfect, there are no shadows to hide, and there's nowhere for people to be themselves. There's no texture to it. The other thing we did was affect the shutter speed. Normally a camera will run at a 180 shutter speed. We ran it at a 120 to make things a little crisper and more crystalline. It's an effect you will have seen in Saving Private Ryan or Gladiator or any war movie made recently. They'll do it at a 45 shutter speed, and all of a sudden every piece of dirt that's blown out of the air is very visible to the eye. It's kind of hard to watch after a while. We didn't take it that far. We took it to 120, so that it's just a little bit too much. Things are too sharp and they're too bright, and then when we come around River like this, we can really feel the motion around her and behind her a little bit more than we would. It makes us a little uncomfortable.
Then way past the halfway mark in uncovering River's mystery, the crew finds the answer to Firefly's third and final big question. What happened to the reavers? The men gone crazy at the edge of space, the terrifying abominations, and the answer is unexpected and paradigm shifting. The tropes of the impossible foe and the final battle are ones Joss Whedon and Mutant Enemy ping very frequently on Buffy's Slayer of the Vampires, Angel and Dollhouse. Angel's finale, which I'll be covering next show, and the show after that, posits a problem better than any. Thematically, it poses a question that Serenity answers. How can we prevail? Angel left an indelible mark on me 3 years before, and I'd been motivated to write extensively then to international authorities on human rights abuses in Yemen and Syria. I was subscribing to campaign against the arms trade while Iraq was bombarded. I was writing to UK, US and Australian governments, beseeching them to fair play. I wrote politely, with good manners. I wrote with formal, rational address and emotional reasoning. All handwritten note. Once mid-meal I accidentally called Donal Rumsfeld out as a fucking demon. Point being, when you're researching reports and you're reading research reports from Amnesty International or War on Want, you learn facts you can't turn your back on. I've got a fat file of form rejection letters from MPs and corporations. Most of it says, we care. Little of it says, we do. Serenity's final act opens on Mal Reynolds' new war strategy. He employs what he knows, what we know, to make what he does count for something. The strategy is so impressive, its relation to character writing seems only an honourable mention. As I watched from my cinema seat, it was as if some key and cogs turned in my brain. The message of the signal? We can beat them, and this is how. Though I'm not sure I can give you more information than that. Serenity is enduring, and I turn scholars to it to try and decipher the creative vision for lasting victory over oppressive global authoritarianism.
Vessel in range. Lock on. Bastard's not even changing course.
Sir? And so the final act opens, and the epic battle sequences that we get on the ground and in space before that are true tutorials in how to write action sequences. There's chaos, a battle to survive by raging against the dying of the light. Simon Cayley's relationship gets closure. River's story gets closure. On YouTube there's a brilliant video essay by Filmjoy, aka Movies with Mikey, positing the film as Mal's story as seen through River's eyes. Mal's war against the operative concludes against the landscape of one of these magnificent industrial complexes Whedon is so fond of. Mal overcomes eventually not by violence, but by talking, just as he and Shepherd Book tried to reconcile their religious beliefs around the fire. The war is won by talking and listening. Grant Morrison said something that stuck with me. I'll share my story with you, you share your story with me. That's what it's all about.
Don't we just want to talk and let it all go now and just say, hey, I'm interested in you, what have you got to tell me? That's what it's all about, isn't it? We communicate, we join up, we make networks, we make things happen. And there are some people in the world who don't want to do that, so let us infect them.
Isn't that all life is?
Love. You can learn all the math and the verse. If you take a boat in the air that you don't love, she'll shake you off just as sure as a turn in the world. Love keeps her in the air when she ought to fall down. Tells you she's hurting before she keens. Makes her home.
Storm's getting worse.
We'll pass through it soon enough.
So we come to the end of our deep dive into Serenity, Blueprint for a Revolution. Shout out to you if you shared, liked, or just listening to this stuff. Shout out to Robert Wells for doing all these with some firm caring. Multiple retweets, that's what y'all should be doing. Rob wrote last episode wasn't long enough. He's entirely right. So Rob, I'll be returning to do another Sunny episode sometime in the future. November is National Novel Writing Month, which is busy for me, particularly now I'm a liaison, so I'll be breaking the next subject into 2 parts. Under the review scope next time, Angel Season 5, In the Belly of the Beast. Shout out to lead distributor Dave Cromie at nerdgeist.com, on Twitter at ngeistofficial, Nerdgeist on Facebook. You can find me on the Bake of Faces too, and at Twitter at Andrew Luke. On Patreon I upload 6 things a month: poems, short stories, comics, photos, science fiction, comedy and slice of life. Without my patrons this podcast wouldn't happen. You should try it and sign up at £1 a month at patreon.com/Andy Luke. A quick end plug for my brand spanking new book, It's Coastlines After Dark, a very funny collection of short stories which are digestible and Moorish. If you're not logged into YouTube, come about and decloak. I'm keen to learn what feelings and observations Serenity and Firefly stirred in you. Please leave a comment below and share it with the community, and a like and subscribe always helps. New pieces go up on this channel every Wednesday and Sunday. Please be sure to check back next Wednesday for a very special Doctor Who and Always Sunny in Philadelphia crossover video.